Welcome to Surviving the Side Hustle podcast, the place where expert-based business owners learn how to build momentum, avoid burnout, and create sustainable success on their own terms. I'm your host, Rob Tracz, strength and conditioning specialist turned founder and CEO of Prime Performance Coaching, the personal performance strategy firm for high-achieving business owners and operators. I partner with driven entrepreneurs to implement the Prime Performance process, an awareness-based operating system that's helped me and countless solopreneurs and small business owners evolve from just being high performers on the edge of burnout to prime performers building sustainable success. The impact of Prime Performance process has led me here, where I'll show you how to get unstuck and design your own Prime Performance life without sacrificing your health, relationships, or sanity. So whether you're hustling after hours or scaling your passion project, today and here you're going to get real stories, science-backed strategies, and practical frameworks to help you excel every step of your journey. It's time. Let's get intentional, build momentum, and become prime performers together. We'll get started just after this message. If you're an ambitious business owner or side hustler who's ready for a breakthrough, tired of spinning your wheels, looking to slide past burnout and build real momentum, I'd love to invite you to book a free Prime Performance strategy session with me or one of our strategists. This is your chance to get personalized insight on what's been holding you back and get a clear path to move forward. No fluff, just actionable strategy. So if you're interested, visit survivingthesidehustle.com/free call to request your spot now. Again, that's survivingthesidehustle.com/free call. Looking forward to helping you become a prime performer. What's going on, and welcome back to another Friday recap of Surviving the Side Hustle. I want to kick it off as I usually do by asking you something. Would you have the courage to shut down a successful business? Not a failing one, but a thriving one at its absolute peak. Because even though it looked perfect on the outside, it had stopped feeling right on the inside. See, most entrepreneurs never do it. We're wired to protect what's working, to ride the wave as long as it lasts, to chase the next number. But here's the truth. Being rich on your bank account and poor on the inside is one of the most common and most quietly painful traps high achievers fall into. And almost nobody's talking about it. This week's guest walked away from 2 successful companies at their peak to chase something most of us forget to even measure. And what she's learned about it is going to make you rethink what success even means. So this week on the show, I sat down with Cindy Van Eckhout, calling in from south of France. Cindy is an entrepreneur, a coach, and a former corporate sales leader who's lived on the boldest reinvention stories I've had on the show. She spent 8 years climbing the corporate ladder in Belgium. Good paychecks, good mentors, good people. She even met her husband there. But at a certain point, she and her husband both started to feel something. Not a crisis, not a conflict, just a quiet sense that things were getting misaligned. That the success looked great on paper, but didn't feel fully rich on the inside. So they did something wild. They quit from one day to the next, got in the car, drove down to the south of France with no home and no bulletproof plan, just a name, Allegra, the Spanish word for joy. 3 days later, they found their dream house. 5 months later, they opened their first business. And over the next 20 plus years, they built 4 companies, a boutique B&B, an art brand, a real estate company, and more. And then at the peak, they shut down 2 of them because success without alignment, and Cindy realized, isn't sustainable. Today, she helps high-achieving women turn financial success into what she calls true wealth, a life that feels good as much as it looks. The episode is all about alignment, joy, and what sustainable success actually means. So go and check it out again if you haven't listened to the full guest interview. And this time when you listen through it, listen through this lens, because Cindy made a distinction in the conversation that I haven't been able to stop thinking about. She said being rich and being wealthy are 2 completely different things. Being rich is having money. Being wealthy is having a life that you actually love. And the trap that she sees over and over with high achieving people is that those who are rich on the bank account and poor on the inside. People who chase a definition of success, usually one handed to them by someone else, all the way to the top, only to arrive and realize that the thing that they were climbing toward doesn't actually feel like anything. And I know this one personally because for years I chased a version of success in my fitness coaching business that somebody else had bestowed upon me. I hit the milestones because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. And it wasn't until I stopped and actually defined what success meant to me that I could finally make decisions that led somewhere I wanted to go. This whole episode is about the difference between a success that looks good and a success that actually feels good, and how to build the second one on purpose. So the main takeaway, or the first takeaway I should say, is the feeling comes first, and your body is always telling the truth. Cindy says something that runs counter to how most of us operate, and I think it's the foundation of the entire episode. Everything she said starts with a feeling. Before the burnout, before the crisis, before anything goes visibly wrong, there's a quiet feeling that something is misaligned. And if you're honest with yourself, you can feel it. The success looks great on the outside, but on the inside, there's no wow. That's the first signal. That's the smoke before the fire. The problem is most of us are experts at not feeling it. We're drowned the signal out, and Sydney named the tools we use. Netflix, binge eating, doom scrolling, partying, not because those things are evil, but because we use them to stay separate from ourselves, to avoid the quiet long enough that we never have to hear what it's really trying to tell us. And here's the truth. Your body is the smartest feedback system you own. It's always telling you when you're misaligned. The only question is whether you're willing to get quiet enough to actually listen. And her prescription for hearing is a beautifully simple one. Go into nature. Do something completely disconnected from your work. Take a walk and don't go into your head. Watch the birds, the water, the sky, and little by little, you drop out of your racing mind and back into your heart where the actual answers live. This hits home for me because it's almost exactly what saved me. When I was trying to figure out the pivot out of fitness, the thing that opened up the space to get creative was walking outside with no headphones, just silence, sunlight, and the air. People, I guess, nowadays call it silent cardio, and supposedly it's a trend. But for me, it was survival. The quiet was the only place I could actually hear what I wanted. And here's what I want you to sit down with. If you've been feeling low-grade sense of something being off, even though everything looks fine on paper, that feeling is not nothing. That feeling is data. And no amount of scrolling, streaming, or staying busy is going to answer it. The answer only comes in the quiet. So this week, take a walk, leave the headphones. Don't go into your head. Just listen to what you already know. And this is the absolute heart of my principle around energy and intentionality. The whole framework behind it is much bigger, but the core idea is that your internal state is a gauge on a dashboard. And most entrepreneurs have to learn to ignore the warning lights until the engine seizes up. The signal isn't there to annoy you, it's there to guide you. The skill is learning to read it before it breaks down. Your body's always telling you the truth about whether your life is aligned, and the misalignment shows up as a feeling long before it shows up as a crisis. The walk in nature with no headphones isn't soft, it's the most reliable diagnostic tool you have. The second takeaway I want to give you guys is you either win or you learn, but you never lose. This is the part of the conversation that reframed how I think about challenge. And it's coming from someone who's been through 20 plus years of building and pivoting businesses. I asked Cindy, what separates the entrepreneurs who collapse under pressure from the ones who pivot and actually succeed? And her answer was one word: mindset. Specifically, a growth mindset. The ability, when a challenge arrives unannounced and uncomfortable, to ask a different question than everybody else asks. Not why is this happening to me, but what is the lesson here and how do I grow from it? And then she said the line that really stopped me. You either win or you learn. You never lose. Think about what that does. It removes the entire category of failure from your life. Every outcome is either a win you celebrate or a lesson you grow from. There's no third option. There's no losing. But here's the part that made it real for me, because Cindy was honest about it. She said the challenge never feels good. You don't say thank you while you're in it. The gratitude comes later, after you've been through it once and then again, and you start to see the dots connect backwards. And eventually it becomes a game. You start to anticipate the lesson, you start to look for the pain point and ask, where can I get better here? And the challenge stops being a threat and starts being the universe playing with you. This is everything for the entrepreneurs listening right now who are in the middle of something hard. A slow season, a pivot that isn't working yet, a launch that flopped, or a client that left. In the moment, it feels like losing. It feels like proof that you're doing it wrong. But Cindy's whole point is that the biggest wins of her career weren't the wins. They were the learnings. The challenges taught her things that victories never could have. And if you can hold on to that, even while it's uncomfortable, even before the gratitude arrives, you stop being someone who gets crushed by pressure and start being someone who grows from it. And this is literally the foundation of my entire prime performance process, which is built on resilience. I talk about all the time about how growth is born out of challenge, not celebration. Cindy said it from her own lived experience, in her own words, and it's the exact same truth. The discomfort isn't the obstacle to your growth. The discomfort is the growth. Comfortable doesn't build anything. And this connects to something I unpacked in my recent TEDx talk, Are We Optimizing Ourselves into Burnout? I shared with Cindy that for me, burnout was a byproduct of when speed outpaces direction. When I was grinding alone with no clarity, I was on a fast track to crashing into the wall. The growth mindset she's describing is part of how you keep the speed in the direction that is aligned. So the challenge, they grow you instead of breaking you. And finally, lesson number 3 for you guys is joy isn't the finish line. It's the road. This last one is the soul of the entire episode. And it might be the most important reframe that Cindy offered. She said most high achievers are chasing joy as if it's a destination. And if it's the thing waiting at the end, after the next milestone, the next exit, the next level. Once I get there, then I'll feel it. And so they defer it and defer it and defer it. And eventually they wake up rich and empty, wondering why the feeling never came. But Cindy made a distinction that changes everything. She separated happiness from joy. Happiness, she said, is a way of feeling. It's an emotional reaction to an external event. It's moment driven, and it comes and goes. But joy is a way of being. It's a renewable source of vitality that comes from within, from alignment and presence. And here's a line that reframes it all. Joy is not a goal. It's not something that you achieve at the end. It's something you create along the way. If you enjoy the journey, you have joy the entire time. It was never waiting at the finish line. It was available on the road the whole way there. And Cindy gave us a diagnostics for knowing when joy has gone missing. She calls them the four joy blockers, and every one of them traces back to misalignment, mental overload, the endless to-do lists and loss of clarity that led to overwhelm, emotional suppression, minimizing your feelings to stay productive until it leads to burnout, physical depletion, skipping the rest and ignoring the body's signals until you hit exhaustion, and spiritual misalignment, when your daily actions stop matching your values and your deeper why. She said it's simplest like this. If you don't wake up with a smile to go to work, then there's a good chance one or more of those 4 is present in your life. And it doesn't mean something's fatally wrong with you. It just means you're misaligned. And alignment can be rebuilt. Here's what I want you to really hear, especially if you're a high performer grinding towards some far off version of success. If the plan is to suffer now and collect the joy later, the joy isn't coming. It's not how it works. You don't learn joy at the end like a prize. You build a life where joy is present in the building itself. That doesn't mean every day is going to be easy. It means your work, your effort, your journey is aligned enough with who you actually are that you can feel something good while you're in it, not just when you finally arrive. This one here really connects with my principle around optimization. The framework at its really core is the idea that the pace and the path have to be sustainable. And sustainability isn't just about not burning out. It's about building a life you'd actually want to live every day along the way, not just some imaginary summit. If the journey is miserable, you've already lost, no matter what's waiting at the top. Remember, joy isn't the reward at the end of the climb. It's something you create the way up, or you never get it at all. If your whole plan is suffer now, feel good later, the feeling good part never actually arrives. Build the joy into the journey, or there won't be any for you. And to kind of wrap things up for you guys, the biggest thing I should say, that I want you to walk away from this episode is that there's a difference between being rich and being wealthy. Rich is in the bank account. Wealthy is a life you actually love. The tragedy Cindy spends her life helping people escape is the one where you build the entire mountain of someone else's definition of success, reach the top, and realize you feel nothing because you never stop to ask whether the climb was aligned with who you actually are. You never listened to the feeling that was trying to warn you. You treated every challenge as a loss instead of a lesson, and you deferred your joy to a finish line that you never delivered it. The way out isn't grinding harder, it's to get quiet enough to feel what's misaligned, brave enough to learn from the hard lessons instead of being crushed by them, and wise enough to build joy into the journey instead of postponing it to the end. Success that looks good is common, but success that feels good, that's rare and worthy of living. And it's available to you the moment you start measuring the right thing. If this conversation resonated, and especially if you're a high-achieving woman who has the title, the money, and everything that's supposed to add up to happy, but quietly feels empty, Cindy is exactly the person you'd want in your corner. Her website is allegracoaching.eu. That's Allegra, the word for joy, with one L. ALEGRACOACHING.eu. She's got a free Joy of Life assessment there too, a 2-minute quiz that gives you a personalized report on what's driving your overwhelm and how to get more joy and energy back. And you can find her on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. And keep an eye out for upcoming podcasts and books, both built around living a life that feels as good as it looks. So Cindy, if you're checking in and listening to this recap episode, thank you again for coming on and for the joy that you radiate. It certainly was genuinely an incredible gift. So I want to leave you with one piece of advice Cindy gave at the very end when I asked her what she'd tell someone building a side hustle who feels successful on paper but empty on the inside. She said, start with one question. What is one thing that will bring me joy? Then take one step towards it. Don't blow up your whole life in 2 giant leaps like she did. Smaller steps are okay, but make sure there's commitment and make sure there's consistency. And she quoted Denzel Washington, who said it perfectly. Without commitment, you'll never start. But without consistency, you'll never finish. You don't have to drive to the south of France with no plan to change your life. You just have to ask what brings you joy. Take one honest step, and then take that step again tomorrow and the day after. The bold leap makes for a great story, but the small, consistent step is what actually builds the aligned life. Start with one, then keep going. I'll catch you guys next Tuesday with the next guest interview, and until then, stay sharp, stay aligned, and keep surviving the side hustle. That's all for today's episode of Surviving the Side Hustle. If you found value here, please don't forget to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening from. And please create a shared success by helping us share this episode with someone who you think would benefit from today's conversation. And finally, don't forget to connect with us at survivingthesidehustle.com and give us a follow on socials so that we can take part in following along in your entrepreneurial journey. Until next time, remember, success doesn't require a complete sacrifice, just strategy, momentum, and the right support.